number 53, and with me, I have the incomparable Tyler Shirelli and Paul Carson. Tyler Shirelli has played with everybody from Florida Georgia Line to El King to Hardy to currently Logan Mize.
Logan Mize, yeah.
Does a lot of recording, and dear friend of mine, beautiful human being, and actually is managing the Kansas City combo side of our Palen music operation up there, and doing a phenomenal job at that as well. So,
awesome.
And you're a great dad.
Thank you, brother.
That's awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, absolutely. Speaking of great folks, this is Paul Carson. Paul Carson is in a band called Paralandra, and Paralandra is absolutely killing it. But you've also played with Petra, honestly, when you talk about Christian rock groups, like literally the rock, if I may, on which all other Christian rock groups.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the one that started my whole musical journey when I was a kiddo. So
yeah,
I found out about that tidbit about 5 seconds before you heard us play that first thing, and I was like, "Wait, you did what? All right, here we go." So that's awesome.
Pretty amazing. Yeah,
it's awesome.
So anyway, I am lucky to be sitting next to these two guys, and we are going to talk about just some guitar stuff, but also, really, I wanted to use this opportunity to encourage everybody and just ask you guys some questions, that the kind of stuff I think about. So I got some stuff written down because I didn't want to screw this up. So here we go. All right, first of all, let's just get right to some of the nitty-gritty. What kind of pick do you use? I use a Oltex 1.14. If you don't care about this, comment below and just sit there and just endure it. But 1.14, what do you use?
When I endure guitar playing, Fender medians. My dad, they were always around the house. My dad plays guitar. That's what I always found sitting on the washing machine. It's what I
was going to say, it's literally the equivalent of a Red Delicious apple.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
It's the Vic Firth 5A of guitar picks.
Nice. What about you?
Yeah, for me, it's the EVH 88 nylon, and also a Red Delicious apple.
Nice.
Which they come in all colors, but I like the red because I drop my picks a lot, and they're easier to see.
And those have the grip on them.
Yeah,
right?
They've
Kinda
got
like
grip.
the old Hercos.
Yeah. There's it's not as much grip as the Max grip, which that was a little too much.
Yeah.
Because you're done playing and you can't get it off of your thumb. But
well,
feel
yeah, and we were talking just
really
a second ago, and what's funny is that
Just enough.
all of us do pick and fingers to varying degrees, right?
Yep.
Like I feel like I am constantly using some combination of pick and finger when I'm playing. Same way?
Same.
Yep.
Yeah.
I find myself always doing it.
Like
Yeah,
it's-
then
And it's like, it's kind of, you just played it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like I do that sometimes without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Probably too much.
There's a great Guthrie Govan video, if you're familiar with him. I know you guys are. And he's talking about picking, and he actually goes into a thing where he talks about the EQ of the bare finger, of the raw flesh against the string, and it's a little bit softer. And I'm a huge Jeff Beck fan.
Yeah.
And I know Jeff Beck does that too. So that's cool about the picks. String wise, I'm a 10 through 46, pretty
Same.
plain Jane.
Yeah. 9 to 46. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, so light top, heavy bottom on the nines. Very cool. And Diodario for me. What about?
Usually it's Diodario for me because they sell the singles in 5-packs.
Hey-o!
I break strings all the time. I never know what string I'm going to need, so I can't buy packs. So I always just buy the singles.
All right, other string companies, you heard it first. There's a repeatable need. What about you?
Diodario, 10 to 46. Again, like the picks.
Just the plain Jane or NYXL or?
I just put NYXLs on this Les Paul over here I just got for the first time, and I love them, and I'll say why. I just found out that they solder the non-wound strings, which when I was on the road, my guitar tech would always solder my strings because I love using a tremolo.
No, wait a minute. When you say solder, do you mean solder the ball end or?
Yeah, they solder the ball and the windings around it. If you look at an NYXL, there's solder on it.
Okay.
And I guess that's an old road trick that guys would do for Bigsby's. And when they were doing strings fast, you don't have to stretch the unwound strings.
Shut the front door.
And so...
So a drop of solder on the ball.
Yeah, so what they do is, like, you'll have the ball and then it wraps around.
Right.
There's solder on that, on the NYXLs. They've done that. And it's like...
Really?
So I just put a set on this Strat, and I changed these strings, I don't know, 2 days ago, and stretched them out once, and I used my...
You use your wiggle stick.
I use the wiggle
I've
stick.
observed it.
And, man, I notice... I don't have to solder my strings anymore. They're already done.
Yeah.
And the packaging's pretty.
I had no idea.
Better.
See, we're already getting tips. Pretty packaging goes a long way. Looking good goes a long way. All right, humbuckers or single coils? If you can only choose one, where are you at?
Buckers.
Buckers?
Same.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would like to say Buckers. The humbuggies, in the words of Gearman Dude, right?
Yes.
You guys remember Gearman Dude? Comment below if you do. Nash, who's over there running the audio, has told me several times, he goes, Nate, I really feel like you play more like yourself on single coils. And I've took that to heart. If you don't have a friend that's giving you tone consultation or consolation, either which way.
You kind of need, it's a
You need
consolation
both, yeah.
sandwich.
Exactly. If you don't have a friend doing that, you got to get one of those, right? Like when I go to buy a guitar, don't you involve other guitar people's opinions in that? Like, have you ever purchased a guitar, like a major guitar purchase anyway, like completely on your own with no other advice?
It's difficult. My wife is my gear consulate.
Yeah.
Which is great. She's not even a guitar player, but she's been with me for so long. She can tell me, Paul, that's just, I don't know, it sounds a little fuzzy.
God. He who finds a wife who
Yes.
loves guitar tone finds a good
But she
thing.
does. She is my best critic because she's so honest.
That's awesome.
You want an honest critic.
Well, Nash is not my wife. We're around each other a lot. He's laughing. No, my wife, it's a funny story for probably another video, but my wife, I wouldn't have this guitar if it wasn't for Jessica, which, Jess, I love you. Thank you for this. And, but no, Nash, when I actually played this, he actually said, dude, something about that guitar. So anyway, I guess single coils is my long answer there. All right, so I want you to think about when you first started playing guitar. Who were the 3 early musical influences? Now, don't tell me what you think I want to hear based on how you play now. Be honest. 3, or like the 3, and I know there was more, but we just got to narrow it down to 3, that their influence down to their sort of phrasing and technique kind of got into your DNA as a player. I'm gonna start.
Go for it.
Slash. Guns N' Roses was my first band.
Yeah.
Like when I was absolutely, and so I can remember like when you got the, you know, like that little lick like in Sweet Child of Mine, and then there's the, like that slow bend,
Yeah.
you know, to the major third.
Yeah.
I remember being conscious of it when someone called me out on it and said, you know, you must be a big Slash fan. I think I was like playing on a worship team at church, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Doing that kind of thing, right? So I would definitely say him, and then, believe it or not, I would say, honestly, probably Willie Nelson.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah, because the whole... like how he does, and just playing the melody of the chorus or the melody of the verse as the solo itself. When I was a kid, I remember very clearly, I knew like maybe a couple songs, and my dad thrust me in a situation where I was having to play for people. And then there was a guy, it was the first time I ever saw a proper man cave. He had his shed converted to like a little venue, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, and he's like, all right, son, go ahead and pick a little bit. And I didn't know what to do, and I just started playing the major scale, but I was playing it rhythmically, something that kind of was in the vicinity of the rhythm of the melody. And they thought that I was just picking like a counter melody. And they're like, oh, such a good job. And I was like, oh, did I just figure out a cheat code? You know what I mean? That's how I felt. You know, it was like one of those things. So Willie Nelson, and then also I just, a lot of singer-songwriter stuff, honestly. But I am going to say I remember my guitar teacher. My third answer is going to be Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow, because I remember my guitar teacher giving me that on cassette tape.
Yeah.
And I listened to that, and like I'm going, I don't understand any of it. I know it's amazing, and I'll never attain it. But here it is. I'm literally opening the Ark of the Covenant and like having my face melted. Indiana Jones reference.
Jeff Beck, I feel like, he
Okay,
definitely
3.
encapsulated like what can you do with just a guitar plugged into an amp, and he almost covered the whole spectrum of sounds that you can squeeze out of it, which I loved.
Yeah.
So, but for me, my first one was literally Bob Hartman from Petra.
Wow.
And one of the things that I still have taken away is how he, first off, his songwriting I thought was amazing. Just his song construction, his unconventional chord substitutions and patterns were just, I mean, they're still really cool and great to study.
What's a song that instantly comes to mind that somebody's watching this right now and they're thinking, well, give me an example.
Okay, Judas Kiss.
Judas Kiss.
So it's your standard, that little deal. So it's all in this kind of a G blues type of situation. But when it gets to this chorus, he does these.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he did some strange, unexpected chords that really goose you musically. And
Yeah.
I love that,
That's cool.
And then the way he starts guitar solos, I noticed a lot of times he'll go for that big glory note right at the beginning of the solo. Like, same song.
Oh, that was Hotel California.
That's Hotel California.
Joe Walshy.
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Or no, is that Don Felder right there?
That's Don Felder.
That's Don Felder. Yeah.
Okay. Bob's was. Anyway, he does that whole thing, but it just
Just take
starts
2 seconds
so,
to appreciate this man's tone that's in
That's
his hands.
so good.
Oh, well, it's
Yeah.
the bad cat.
Yeah, these bad cats are not, hurting this equation at all.
Yeah.
We're playing real quick. John Thompson, I love you. You know that. We're playing through. I got a black cat going.
I got a hot cat.
And Paul's playing through the Cub,
I've got a middle cat.
a middle cat.
No. It's good.
The
Good
Cub. It's
sound.
great.
Cleans up nicely.
Okay, so Bob from Petra. Who else?
Anyway, and then of course Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
Also
Huge.
showed me like all the things from his. Everybody knows Eddie Van Halen is still like the pinnacle of what can be accomplished on guitar for me. And then the third one was Vito Bratta.
Oh yeah, White Lion.
Yeah, White Line. The first time I heard Vito Bratta, I just dropped everything, and I was like, wow. His phrasing was like listening to a singer. But yet it was a singer that could sing really fast when he wanted to. And, But, like from the, on...
Do that again. Do that again. Do that again.
Okay.
Show us how to do that.
On Wait. It's so like... and then you tapping that same note on the 14th.
So you're on an A chord? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's on. So he just...
Okay.
And then
Wait a minute.
bend it a full step with your left hand. Yeah. And then slide that sucker up here. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Dude, that
It's fun
my
stuff,
wife's
right?
gonna be so mad at me tonight when she's trying to go to bed. She just made the bass going, butchering that, but getting excited about
Yep.
every time I do.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough for Chords and Coffee. Bye.
Well, see you guys later. Happy New Year.
Exactly. No, that's great. That's
that
a
stuff
great.
is fun and
Yeah.
all in his playing. And so whenever I'm laying down leads on my albums, I try to first like melodically kind of hear things, or I'll just start with a thing and then melodically try to work that out, and then work that out on guitar, because that's kind of what Vito did, and it just made it like an important musical part of the song, not just like, well, it's time for a solo.
Right.
But he made it just a passage that elevated the song musically.
And that era of music really, like the guitar solo, had to demonstrate some kind of like athleticism.
It
You know what I
did.
mean? Like technique wise, there
It
had to be
did.
something there. So that's awesome. All right, Tyler, your
Oh,
big
man.
three, your early influences.
Leroy Parnell.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
dad's band played a lot of Leroy Parnell, so there's this song called Road Scholar.
And he was a slide player.
And he played
On a
slide on a
Strat.
Strat a lot. So
Yeah.
like that was a sound I identified before I ever picked up a guitar when I was playing drums.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the attitude, and you're talking about singing, vocal like quality.
Yeah.
I really, really loved that. John Mayer
Yep.
was a big one. I was just coming out of high school into college when he hit for the first time, and I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. And there was something about John Mayer for, I'm sure, a lot of people in my
You're talking about
generation.
Room for Squares.
Yeah.
Yeah, that album.
And
Yeah.
like I love the songwriting. There was like chords in the song. We've talked about that before, and there were things about it that were like, oh man, like that. There's something about that I like, and I felt too like I had a guitar hero. I grew up, listening to Stevie and all that, and now it's like there's someone in my generation that I can listen to, and so that was a really big influence. And then David Grissom.
Oh yeah.
Big old David Grissom fan.
yeah.
So
Yeah, we've talked about David Grissom on Chords and Coffee before, especially talking about playing like smaller chords, with all the overdrive stuff.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's great. I'm really fighting the urge to get sidetracked to go down David Grissom rabbit hole. But so with that, without thinking, who is somebody you're listening to right now that's a current influence that like you've recently discovered that you're like just really geeked about?
I've known about him for a while, and I just rediscovered his YouTube channel, Jed Hughes.
Oh yeah,
He's
I'm not
a
familiar.
Tom
He's a-
Bukovac buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tom Bukovac, buddy. He's an Australian dude, and he has the most slinky, beautiful fingers on a guitar. Like he plays.
And he plays good too.
It's not just.
Well, see you all later. No, he does. He'll do like just like,
oh yeah,
but
yeah,
he
yeah.
does it all clean, and it sounds like you know how smooth like Grissom. We'll use Grissom as an example. Someone
Yeah.
like they have a lot of overdrive, but they can make it sound so clean. Jed will pick up like a telly, anything he picks up, but he's playing a lot of strats right now. And he'll plug into a memory man into a clean amp, and he'll play these legato passages that are just
Now, didn't he play?
incredible.
Didn't he play with on the Vince Gill tribute?
Yes.
And he was with Tom doing that. Yeah, I saw
that's a great
videos.
example. Whenever you come around, I think was the song they played, and like, I think he used a version of Vince's solo, with a few less notes, but still nodded in the really respectful way. But it was just kind of like, you talk about somebody who uses very few notes and will completely move you into another mental state. Every time I hear Jed play, whether it's in person or just watching him or listening to a record, you're just like, you can tell like that is just coming through him. And I there's something about that I think is really beautiful.
That's awesome.
I started watching his video. I keep trying to put my foot on a step that's not there. I started watching his videos again the other day, and I was just like, whoa, this is really inspiring to me. So I've been playing my Strat a lot more.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, just for those of you playing the home game, we did not intend this. I mean, literally,
No.
we were pulling guitars
Unplanned.
out of gig bags, and
Yeah.
we're going, and we didn't even notice it until it was like, what?
Yeah.
So anyway, gold guitars for the win.
Yeah.
What about you? Who's somebody you listen to right now that's?
Recently, Nick Johnston.
Oh yeah, Schecter artist.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He forced me to buy a Fender fully loaded antiquity pickguard.
What a jerk.
I know. he owes me a good chunk of change. But no, Nick is the same way. He is such a fluid player. And when you said he can use a lot of distortion without it sounding like distortion and
Yeah.
it sounds clean, I feel like Nick is so great at that.
Yeah.
And he plays the way that I love playing, which is you're using your volume knob all the
Yeah,
time.
that's
You
one of the things I
know,
want to
you're
talk
just
about.
finessing that thing. And
Yeah.
I love finesse players. I love players that instead of just going, they can go, you know, just add a little something. It's the same notes, but they're finessing it.
Yeah.
And Nick is just, and he plays so well that you think it's easy. You know, that player that is just
All
it's
of
like
them, all the greats are like
the
that.
greats. You're like, oh wow, I could do that, and then you dig into it, and you're like, no, I can't. I can't at all.
Yet, Paul
Yeah.
Carson.
But,
yet.
Anyway, yeah, I
Yeah.
love and respect that man for sure.
Yeah. I have been really into. We were all talking about Michael Landau earlier, specifically the song "Dust Bowl." It's like at the Blue Note, but as I'm sitting here listening to you guys, I mean, I feel like the guy that's been the most like new, like where I've just kind of binged YouTube stuff. I'm not, and I hope I'm saying his last name right. Julian Lage.
Yeah.
He's a Collings guitar player. He's like a jazz guy, and he plays. I'm always really impressed with guys who can play in a three-piece
Yeah.
and get it all done. You know what I mean?
Timmons is
Andy
another one of those
Timmons. That's
guys.
another one. I should have named Andy Timmons. I mean, somebody said the other day, it's like they were in the store. It is a buddy of mine named Bill. He said, you know, you're always on the quest for great tone and you'll never find it, but one day you'll come to realize that something like Andy Timmons has or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I've heard it said there's really no such thing as great tone, but Andy Timmons has it.
Yes. That was the quote. That was the quote. He
Yeah,
does.
it's,
But
it's a
Julian
trick.
Lage, this guy, there's I think it's called Nocturne, and he's playing like with a bunch of people around him, and he's playing a telly through like what appears to be like maybe a Fender Princeton or something. Not even a Princeton. I think it's like a Harvard. It's like one of those smaller like Champ style amps, and he just sounds great, and his phrasing is great. He's just awesome. So. Okay, so we got that. Let's talk a little bit about this. So you guys both are in situations where you got to be creative. You got to write something, right?
Hold on.
Yeah, take your little,
It's coffee
take your
too,
little
right?
swig. Yeah, chords and
This
coffee.
is not just about chords, folks.
That's right, right. Hey, if you guys are enjoying this so far and you want us to do this again, comment below. Nate, this is great. Do this again. If you hate it, just write which one of these guys you hate the most, and we'll make sure to deal with that.
If it's me, I'll send you some Fender mediums.
Highly recommend.
No,
some
these guys are
PNC
great.
Coffee.
Hey, so with that being said, riff writing process. Riff writing process, right? Do you, okay, so I was watching somebody else I really love who's no longer with us is Jeff Buckley.
Oh yeah,
Jeff Buckley, go down that rabbit hole. Amazing singer-songwriter.
I'll get you all the feels.
Yeah, great guitar player. But he would talk about how a lot of times there's things that his hands find that feel good and that he likes to do. Sometimes I feel like it's that way with me, but sometimes I'll just get stuck on something. You know, like, case in point, I've had this little thing stuck in my brain forever. So G minor pentatonic, friends, and maybe you take turns here. Give me a little G minor pentatonic, Paul. Something pretty. I didn't prep them for that or anything. I just said, make it go. Yeah. And they did it.
Yeah.
Good job. You didn't get your chance. I'm sorry.
I did not want to walk on that. That was beautiful.
But that's like a little thing that
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you. I remember like finding the way this feels.
Yeah.
And it's just if you want to know, it's a B flat major 7 chord. And it's kind of a fun voicing. I've got my ring finger on the 6th fret of the low E, right? Not doing anything with the A. Skipping the A. You ever skip your A?
Never.
You gotta try it. Anyway, so skipping the A. Pinky on the 7th fret of the D, okay? Middle finger on the G string, 5th fret, and index finger on the 3rd fret of the B. Now I know what you're saying. Woo! You might be saying that. It's all about thumb placement. Whenever your hand is hurting, your thumb needs to kind of do this. We've talked about that before. So that's the major 7, and then here's the money, is that when this pinky slides down a half step. Right?
Oh, that.
Right? Because that's just like, yeah. And that's all that's happening. So now we're on dominant 7, and then to E flat major 7. Comment below if you want me to tell you the whole thing, but that's enough for now. Anyway.
That's beautiful, Nate.
Yeah,
But so
really
thank
is.
you. So riff writing process or like writing process, I mean, do you have a well that you go to and dip the bucket in, or is it one of those things where you're just constantly, you're walking around and you're just kind of singing things in your phone, or what is your creative, what is the access to your creative stream like?
What do you think, Paul?
For me, a lot of it is when I get a good sound. Like if I plug in to a good sound or a new sound. A new sound often inspires me. In fact, that's what happened when I bought that Reverend over there. Was I just plugged that thing in, wrote a song on it. First thing. I remember I brought an Ibanez home one time and I wrote a song, "All Fall Down," that one that was
That's a
kind
great
of our first
tune.
big song. But that was just. I just plugged it in. It was like, wow, that sounds majestic, and immediately just started writing a riff that was. I mean, I didn't plan it, but yeah, that's. Or sometimes if I'm just sitting around, you know, I just take a very normal chord, just see what it kind of sings to me.
Well, you know, and to your point, as guitar
You know,
players,
just-
a lot that's beautiful too. A lot of times as guitar players, we get this kind of, and we do it to ourselves a little bit, but we kind of get this bad rap for being too tone conscious and seeking after tones. But the truth is that the right tone is inspirational.
It
period.
inspires, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
big deal. Yeah. What about you?
I'm the same way. I'm very inspired by a tone and a sound. Like, and that can be, like if I'm doing session work, that'll obviously be totally directed by whatever the song is being brought. But inevitably, whenever I've gone back and listened to stuff I've played on, I can tell exactly what I was into at the time. I can tell exactly what amps I owned at the time, and like whatever channel I was already kind of in.
Yeah.
And that will completely direct my attitude, which I love. Like, there's one producer I worked with a lot named Joey Moy in Nashville that really was the one that, like, I owe any credit I have to him, because he would have me in once a year when I didn't know what I was doing at all and would just break me down to nothing. He'd be like, all right, go back to the woodshed and come back. And then a year later, I'd think I was coming in, like, doing something cool, coming up with ideas, and he'd break me right back down. It was the best training I've ever had. But I tell you that story to say he was part first. He did not care about the tone. He eventually, when the tones on the records he produces are amazing, but he would just be like, flip the bassman on. Like, don't worry about pedals. Like, let's find parts.
Yeah.
So we would hum. A lot of times we would just sit and hum parts before we pick up a guitar.
Right.
Find a lane and channel. And then after we got the melody and the part and all of the melodic content, then we would go down tone land. And that was the hardest thing in the world for me, because I'm just like you. A sound will take me all the way to the finish line. Like, that'll give me a channel going, but if I don't have that, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Same with an acoustic guitar, honestly. It's like you pick up a certain acoustic, and it just takes you to things you've never played before.
Right.
So.
Totally. So with that, is there we were talking earlier about influences and things like that. Is there a thing that your hand does that you got from one of your influences? And maybe we covered this already. I don't know. We didn't cover this yet, did we?
I feel like inadvertently Paul showed us one.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
sorry.
well, no,
Don't
it's
be,
just
it was
great. No, it's
amazing.
great. Is there
Got new
something
trick
that
in the
you
bag.
find yourself doing a lot that you got as a young player or early? And here's why I'm bringing this up, friends, is that you might be watching this right now and you might have started, later in life, which is great. In fact, to me, when you're making music for just the pure sake of making music, that's like the best music.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, the pure sake of just like wanting to change the atmosphere for the better. That's powerful. So I want to encourage you, first of all, keep doing what you're doing. But second of all, I also want to tell you that sometimes when things come easy to us or come naturally to us, we can kind of discredit it and think, there's a great book called Effortless Mastery written by Kenny Werner where he talks about one of the biggest enemies of playing well is that where you're always constantly evaluating or you have these attachments to what you're playing. That wasn't fast enough. Paul's way faster than I am. I mean, Tyler, he's got just way better tone than I do, right? It's like we all have a voice. We all have something to say. And we all are beginning to learn to say what it is that's in here at whatever time of life that we're in. So it doesn't matter. But I will tell you, it's nice to know these little hacks, if you will. And so what was something in your playing where you said, oh, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life? Like a little thing. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example, and you kind of touched on this too, so I'm stealing your deal. Sorry. Anyway,
take it.
But this little sweep thing.
Yeah.
I remember very early in my guitar playing, like finding that and feeling like, oh, we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that. It's like when you're like, oh, you can get peanut butter out of a jar with a spoon. Why not? That's what I'm gonna do. So. All I'm doing is I am sweeping with my pick, and when I get to the high E string, I'm plucking up. Put that on a shirt. Right? Just that little simple
You're doing
thing.
an upstroke on the E string.
I'm actually doing a pluck with my middle finger on the high
gotcha.
E.
Hold on.
And that is literally my for lack of a better term, it's dangerous territory when I start using sports ball metaphors. But that's my batting stance, if you will. Like, that's where I feel like I'm coming into. What about you guys? Do you have a thing that you do a lot?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
There is a little thing that that kind of reminded me of using a tremolo bar, like going, rah! You know how sometimes your guitar kind of goes, rah, like a dragon or something like that.
Absolutely.
But without using it, and it was just something like that, which is just, it's pretty simple, but I do use it a lot and I like it a lot.
Okay, what are you doing?
Which is like, it's the double stop thing, which we all learned
where
early
are you
on.
at? Where are you at up there on the?
But what I decided was bending like where I've got the root. Let's just say the root is A, and then bending the fifth up a step and a half, but doing it together. So if
And are you doing both of those on the 15th fret?
17th, yeah, but
Or 17th fret. So you're bending the A or the B.
yeah,
to
so
here?
you can kind of get that, but you can. But I kind of like that attitude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Almost
just
sounds like
like
a
it.
wah just coming from
Yeah,
full
yeah.
bottom to all the way up.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so
So
I
much
just-
attitude.
I discovered that, and I was like, wow, I kind of like these double stops that don't sound like the normal double
Yeah.
stop.
Very
you know,
Becky. Like Jeff Beck will do stuff like that in the middle of a verse where it's super quiet, and then you'll just hear out of nowhere he'll do a vocal line, and then just do something really like
Dude.
aggressive. Landau does that sometimes.
That
too.
is
That's
probably-
great. That's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. I'm gonna start using that.
Yep.
Oh, okay, you're welcome.
Stolt.
But, I mean, it's
Sorry.
nothing, nothing crazy, but it's probably from Beck. I mean, I would imagine Jeff Beck is probably what flipped my switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, if you're watching this and you've never listened to Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow, right?
Yeah.
That's the album. That's the first album you should really just deep dive
blow
into.
your mind.
It will blow your mind. Blown mind after blown mind. I'm going to abort this metaphor. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean, I would dare to say, and the comment down below, I'm curious to see these comments.
Yeah.
Like, I put Jeff Beck up there with, like, Jimi Hendrix and dudes that really
Totally.
introduced a different way to approach the instrument.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Like, Hendrix had the wang bar, he had the wiggle stick, but, I mean, Beck, he would roll his tone down and got all these Les Paul sounds out of a Strat at different times.
Also would reinvent his tone.
Completely.
Yeah.
Because, Blow by Blow is totally different than what he does now. Like, it's like everything. Would
Yeah.
you say that? Or am I
1,000%.
totally off?
No,
Right.
1,000%.
Well, he starts out on a Les Paul,
Yeah.
and he's using a
Yeah.
pick, and then the next thing you know, he's on a Strat, and he's not using a pick anymore, and he's just
I tell you what, if you haven't seen this and you're a Jeff Beck fan, there is a video of him playing "Cause We've Ended As Lovers," which
Oh.
that's the song.
Yeah.
And he's playing it on a telly.
Oh.
There's a video he's playing it on a telly.
Really?
Yes, you can find it. Just like YouTube, Jeff Beck, "Cause We've Ended As Lovers" Telecaster. It's out there. He's playing a white telly.
If I remember right, he played a telly in the Yardbirds too.
Yeah, I mean the
He
Jeff
did.
Beck. It was
He
actually
sure
an
did.
Esquire.
Esquire.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have a front
yeah, yeah,
pickup.
yeah. Okay, so a thing that you do.
Oh man. I was gonna do the
Yeah.
kind of the Grissom thing,
Yeah, yeah.
but even earlier than that, my dad did this all the time, and it's all the double stops. My dad grew up in
Nice.
Memphis.
Yeah, yeah.
So like the Motown thing of just like, yeah, like all that. Like I will find myself on any major sounding anything. I end all of my solos way too much with the
it just
No, I
sounds
love
right,
that.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
that-
and but every time you land it, you're just like, that'll work. But the rut I fall into is I do it all the time, and it feels great, and it's a trick in the bag. But I love it. I just love the way it sounds.
And I'm here to tell you that I really feel like I guarantee you Jeff Beck feels that way about something he does.
Oh, man.
And you're watching this right now, and you probably feel that way about. I mean, every guitar player, we all go through that thing where we go, the pentatonic scale, I will never play it again. It is too mundane, right? And then you come right back to it. And the truth is that it's a great scale. And,
Absolutely.
You know, there's something about it. There's a really great video, and I've talked about this before. I'm gonna say it again. YouTube Bobby McFerrin,
Yeah.
and it's like a TED talk or something like that. But he's talking about the pentatonic scale, and he gets an entire audience to sing it in unison. But like he doesn't just teach them the notes. He's bouncing up and down in one spot,
Yeah.
and then he moves to another one, and then teaches them that note, then another one, and then he goes boom, 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 and he bounces. And everyone, and these are not musicians.
Yeah.
It's a room full of like science people, and they all go sing the pentatonic scale. And he makes the case that those intervals are somehow so woven into our human fabric, and it's funny and like without getting too deep, but you're watching Chords and Coffee, so you knew this was coming.
Come on now.
But without getting too deep, 5. There's some really interesting study like with numbers, like actual mathematical numbers and like Bible stuff, and like 5 is the number of grace, and David picked up 5 smooth stones to kill Goliath, and there's all this stuff with 5. It's just kind of interesting. Not getting weird on you. Stay with me, anyway. But with that being said. there's something about the pentatonic scale. It's in every musical indigenous culture. It's in every, like even before the internet. Like you look at, music from the east, from the west, south, north, it's there. So it's just interesting. And it's funny is that, we get so down on it, but then we always come back to it. You know what I mean? And it feels good.
You remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yes.
That's how they communicated.
Right.
That's one of my earliest memories of seeing music used in that way of like, they didn't know how to communicate with an extraterrestrial race. So what did they do? They played a melody.
Right.
Ba-da-do-do-do.
Yeah,
I
right.
can still sing it
yeah,
today.
and actually, isn't that on the harmonic some? Yeah.
Oh, gosh, here it comes.
Wow.
They're coming. No, you were talking about encouragement, and I was talking about getting in ruts. One thing I would encourage everyone watching this to do, and we're doing it right now, and I didn't even think about this driving down here. I drove about 3 hours to get here, and I was thinking about, like, these are amazing players I get to sit next to and great friends. So there's a part of you naturally, and I know everyone watching this does it too, that's kind of like, that guy's better than me, or that guy, I don't know, I'm self-taught, I don't know what I'm going to talk to you guys about. But when I go home tonight, I have at least 3 new things, just by opening myself up and being vulnerable, that I'm going to learn and take with me that I'll start putting in my playing. I encourage all of you, before the next time a Chords and Coffee comes out, get together with 1 or 2 of your friends. Doesn't matter your skill level, doesn't matter if you just bought a guitar.
Yeah.
And sit and do this, because you're going to find friendship, community, and everything, and musicality, and it's a great place to do that with. And
That's
I think
awesome.
even just now is like one of those really humbling reminders of, oh, this isn't about who's better. This isn't everyone's better, and they make you better. And like that at the heart of this is what makes it so special. Music, what all of us do, not just us 3, but anybody watching this.
Well
Get
said.
together,
I couldn't
play some
agree
music.
more.
Yeah.
I would say at any level
Yeah.
that you are musically,
Yeah.
there is something you can learn from somebody, even at a supposedly lower musical level. I run into guys that play guitar, and I'll be like, "Well, show me something." "Oh, I'm not going to show you anything." But I'll be like, absolutely show me something, because I will learn something from any player at almost any level, because we all have a little something different flowering up inside of us, and that what you said is totally true. Sorry for knocking your guitar out of tune.
It's probably more into. But no, we were talking about one thing I've taken. It's like I like the rake thing. I do it sometimes, but like we were talking about. There you go. Yeah.
Wow, nailed it.
And it's just things that take something you might feel like you're in a total rut with.
Yeah.
And you add that one tweak, and you have a totally different attitude
Yeah.
to what you're doing. I cannot express enough going into the new year. Get together with people, be vulnerable, be willing to fail and fall over. It's fun. It's so fun when you get that comfortable.
It is.
Well, that was a beautiful wrap up. Guys, thank you for being here. You're
Yeah.
both amazing individuals, and you're phenomenal players, both of you. And thank you for coming to do this. Hey, if you're watching this and you want to see this configuration of guitar playing humanity together again, please comment below, because if you're interested in doing that, I bet you we could manifest that. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Hey, this new year, play guitar, encourage someone else to do the same. And thank you for watching Chords and Coffee. We've got a whole slew of awesome content, new stuff kind of like this, and other surprises that are yet to come. So we'll see you soon.